Bee-pollinated crops account for about 90% of the world's food supply, so it's in the interests of both beekeepers and farmers to keep bees healthy. However, bee deaths have been on the rise across Ontario and Quebec, and researchers believe that may be due to neonicotinoids, which are a type of pesticide seed coating commonly used in agriculture.
Without having an impact on the bees. And in that way, the beekeepers the best outcome that could result from this kind of discussion is that the growers would find a way through best management practices to continue utilizing neonicotinoids as seed treatments on their seed without having an impact on the bees. And in that way, the beekeepers would benefit because they wouldn't be losing the very important bees that provide them with their incomes. Furthermore, we would still benefit from those bee populations as pollinators of not only cultivated crop but also in natural ecosystems.
And we will see. They want good science, and we're trying to give them that, and hopefully. Growers tend to use err on the side of caution and use a lot of lubricant in their planters just in case, and we're trying to promote using just the bare minimum that they require, and so a lot of them are starting to become aware that maybe they don't need as much, and that certainly would help reduce the amount that's being exhausted off of these planters.
Now, researchers like Tracy Bowdy and Cynthia Scott-Dupree are trying to determine what can be done to limit bee deaths. Their findings will provide policymakers with the background they need to address the problem.
We recognize that other jurisdictions, including Canada and the States, are looking at the research that's being done in North America to determine what needs to be done on a legislative level, and we will see. They want good science, and we're trying to give them that. And hopefully we can resolve this issue so that the pollinators are no longer at risk, or other non-target species that may be also impacted.
This should never be visualized as a battle between the two parties where one wins and the other one loses. It has to be a situation of open conversation and compromise.
Scientific research is answering questions about rising bee death rates across Ontario and Quebec, so that ultimately formal policies can be put in place to control the problem. However, until formal policies are made, neighboring farmers and beekeepers need to work together to do what they can to bring bee deaths to a halt. From the University of Guelph, I'm Megan Cowie, reporting for Spark Air.